Hey guys, it's Danny, and asparagus is in season right now. It is at the top of its game, so I wanted to share with you a very simple seasonal asparagus soup that is rich, creamy, and packed with flavor. And for those of you that are cleansing or detoxing right now, this recipe would be perfect because it is 100% veggie based. So can I please get a big thumbs up for easy, delicious recipes that help us get our greens in? But all joking aside, if you don't do a lot of cooking with fresh seasonal ingredients, really try to throw a couple recipes just like the one I'm gonna show you today into your rotation. Because I'm telling you guys, when ingredients are at the peak of their season, the flavors are beyond. So it's an easy way to get excited about eating healthy foods. So I'm gonna start with 2 pounds of asparagus, and I like to try to find asparagus that's kind of medium in width, so not super thin and not those real big fat ones. So just like what I have here. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is trim them down. The bottom of the asparagus stalks are very tough and woody, and so we need to get those off. And an easy way to tell where you wanna cut them is a lot of times there'll be a little bit of a color change. So you can see it's a little bit lighter before it turns green. That's a good indicator of where it gets tender. So I like to just line them up and chop off the bottoms. Then I'm just gonna cut my asparagus into 1-inch pieces. And I'm also going to take 1 medium onion and chop that up. A couple cloves of garlic, roughly chopped. And then we're gonna drain and rinse 1 can of cannelini beans. These are also sometimes called white kidney beans, and they're very creamy, and actually they are the secret to getting this soup to be very rich and creamy without having to use any dairy. So I've got a nice big pot heating up over a medium heat, and to that I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of oil. Once that oil has heated up, we're gonna toss in our onions along with a pinch of salt. Now that salt just helps to draw the water out of the onions, and they're gonna cook up a little bit faster. What we're looking for is for our onions to become tender and translucent, but not brown. So if you notice that your onions are browning, just turn the heat down a little. Once my onions have arrived and they're looking good, I'm gonna add in my garlic, my asparagus, and those cannellini beans. I'll season that with a little bit more salt and pepper, and then we'll just give that a stir, get everything well combined. And then I am topping this off with 4 cups of low sodium veggie broth. And FYI, you could also just use some cold filtered water if you did not have the broth on hand. I'm gonna crank my heat up to high, let everything come up to a boil. And then once we've got that bubble going, I'm gonna reduce it down to a simmer and set my timer for 5 minutes. The goal here, all I am looking for is for that asparagus to become nice and tender. Then I'm just gonna shut off my heat and let this sit on the stove for 10 or 15 minutes or until it's cooled enough that we can work with it, because we need to blend it up. Now, if you had an immersion blender, you could certainly do that right here in the pot over the stove, but I prefer to blend this in the blender. And just a little FYI, you can take this simple base recipe and make yourself a plethora of spring soups. So take the same base I just showed you, but instead of using asparagus, sub in some peas or baby spinach, and voila, you've got yourself a beautiful fresh spring soup 3 different ways. Once you are ready to blend up the soup, what I like to do is ladle it into my blender. And whenever you're working with warm or hot liquids, you do not want to go more than 1/4 to 1/3 of the way up your blender, because it can produce steam. And if you put the lid on with hot liquids, the whole thing can explode. So I just fill it up a little bit of the way. I pop my lid on, but I leave it a little ajar just so that steam can escape. And then we will blend. Let it go till it's nice and thick and creamy, just like this. And then I'll continue to do this working in batches until I've worked my way through all of the soup. From here, you can put it back on the stove to reheat it, or if you're doing meal prep, you can just put it in a container and leave it in the fridge until you're ready to enjoy it. I know for us, when we eat this soup, I love to ladle it into a bowl and then top it with a little drizzle of full fat coconut milk and a few diced peppers for a little color and texture. Now, if you are enjoying these simple seasonal recipes, make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe and share this video with anyone else you know who's trying to keep things healthy and yummy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Danny Spies. I will see you back here next time with some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers. 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 With some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers. 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 Shish eats. Shish.